Today, we're covering the basics of finding derivatives using the power rule. This is one of the fundamental techniques in calculus, so let's go through it step by step. The power rule is used to find the derivative of any function where x is raised to the power x. In other words, we bring down the exponent as a coefficient and subtract 1 from the exponent. Go over the derivative of x. Let's write it out. So x would also, in other words, be x to the power of 1. And if you want to use a formula, we would bring down the exponent, which is 1 in this case, and it would equal 1 times x to the power of 1 minus 1, because it would be the original exponent minus 1, which would again equal 1 times x to the power of 0. And we all know that x to the power of x to the power of 0 would obviously equal 1. So it'd be 1 times 1, which would equal 1. This is why derivative of x is equal to 1. Let's move on to a more challenging problem. X to the x cubed. So let's do the formula again. We would bring down the exponent, which would end up being 3 times x to the power of 3 minus 1, because we do exponent minus 1, which would equal 3 times x squared. So the derivative of x cubed would become 3 to the power 3 times x cubed squared. Before we move on to any more difficult problems, let's go over the derivative of a constant function. When we talk about constant function, we're referring to a function that always had the same value. For example, it could be fx is equal to 5. Then fx is always 5 regardless of the value of x. Now the derivative of a constant is always 0. Why? Because a constant doesn't change as x changes. So its rate of change is 0. For any constant c, the derivative of the function would always be 0. In simple terms, the slope of a constant function, a horizontal line, is 0. Let's find the derivative of fx equals x cubed minus 4x plus x using the power rule. For the first term, x cubed, we'd bring down the 3 and lower the exponent by 1, which would become 3x squared. And we get 3x squared. Next, we'll do minus 4x. We keep the negative sign as it remains stagnant throughout this. So it'd become minus 4x to the power of 1. And then we would bring down the 1, and then it would turn into minus 4. Lastly, the constant just disappears because the derivative of a constant is 0. So our final answer is f prime x equals 3x squared minus 4. Alright, this time we have y equals cube root x, or y equals x to the power of 1 over 3. Let's find the derivative using the power rule. Now we bring down 1 over 3 and subtract 1 from the exponent. So we'd have y prime equals to 1 over 3x minus 2 over 3. Now, depending on the teacher, we could either leave it like this, or we would have to simplify this. In the simplified form, we would just write it as 1 over 3 times x to the power of 2 over 3. I just brought it down because the exponent in the previous equation had a negative sign. So to remove it, we just brought it down.